My hat! Alright, at this point I have completed the front and rear suspension assembly, so I'm in bag I. So here we go. And bag I is going to be the steering. So this will be fun, right? More turnbuckles. Let's see, here we go. It's really just the turnbuckles that don't really like doing, but I still do. Right? There's always something, and for me it's turnbuckles. But it's still rewarding once everything's finished. Complete, here we go. All right, so we have the washers over there. Put these pieces over here. We're gonna be working with this. But at least so far, everything's been bagged well. And that is something, I mean, I'm not finished with the build, so hopefully it continues on the same way. But like I said, with some other kits, they're not as straightforward. So far, I have to say that by far, Tekno has the best organized kits. So best organization when it comes to the kits. There we go. So I do have my thread lock and grease. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we will be assembling our servo saver, which will be this right over here. Even with metal gears, this thing is so heavy. Any servo would have a hard time not breaking. But we're just going to grab this arm. Now, one of the things you'll notice, the head here, this hex head, I had keys in there. So you're just going to drive this in. Just press it in, really. You're not driving anything. You're just pressing this in. Once you press that in, you want to grab this other arm here, and it has that V-shaped cutout. And that's where the servo saver goes. So for those of you that may be building a kit for the first time or have not really seen a servo saver, the way it works is there will be a spring, and as this takes a hard impact, this will sort of ride up just like that. That creates the resistance. I'm going to exaggerate the movement. So just ride up, and then the spring will just bring it back to where it is. And that's really it. And just having that little bit of motion there really protects the servo during hard bashing. You generally, if you're going to run a servo saver, it'll probably be on a basher, usually on touring cars for racing or even just other racing vehicles. You generally don't run a servo saver because of that slack. You don't want that slack. You want more precise steering. So that is one of the differences. Now here, one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to grab this nut. Now this, you're going to notice the side, it's not really focusing, but this is where the spring will seat. So that's going to go this way. Now here, I'm going to need some thread lock, so I'm going to remove the spring again. And I'm going to apply some thread lock here. And you can apply it over here as well if you want. Because this thing could back out. Not saying it will, just saying it could. There we go. All right. Now, something else, I'm going to go ahead and take this O-ring. I will actually put some grease on the O-ring. The O-ring's going to go over here. The O-ring will also help this from backing out. Let me go ahead and do this. Does not... oh, actually you're supposed to put a little bit of oil. According to this, grease will work. Usually if you don't lubricate these O-rings whenever they're installed in something that threads, for example in shocks, the shock caps, you can damage the O-ring as you're threading. That's why you want a little bit of lubricant so that the O-ring does not break. Let's see. So I'm holding and spinning and don't release, just keep spinning. Once it threads, then you can sort of release, but if it doesn't, let me try compressing it this way and then spinning. So what I'm doing is I'm just compressing it this way and then I'm spinning the whole thing. And hopefully this threads. This should thread, and this is the way I've threaded some others. Alright, so you see how it's threading? So just compress it this way and then just spin. After a while you can just keep rotating. So our goal here is going to be to try to tighten this all the way. And I'm finding it easier to actually spin this. I'm going to use the pliers real quick. Well, maybe not real quick, but I'll use them in a bit. And you want to thread it all the way in and then backing it out 3 turns. Let's go ahead and use these. Now again, if some of you watching this may be new to the hobby or to certain tools, when you're using pliers, wrenches, whatever it is, I'm going to be spinning right, so I'm going to be going this way. So you want this crescent to be this way so that when it spins, this pulls. If you go the other way, if you go this way, this lower jaw is weaker. Depending on what you're working on, you do run the risk of damaging your tool. So be careful with that. Now, something to not mar the nut, you could use a towel, just put it there so the teeth don't mark. One of the things about these nuts here for Tekno is they do have those little grooves so that it doesn't slip if you're using pliers. And that's something that I do like. Here we go. So as soon as we go all the way, then we'll back it out 3 turns. All right, there you go. And do not try to over tighten at all. Once it feels tight, that's when you stop. All right, so I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna go ahead and do 3 turns to loosen. And I will spin this. All right, so that is half, 1, half, 2, half, 3. All right, and that is it. So it will look something like this. So you will still have several threads down here, but you know that's fine. That's all right. This thing's going to be tight. If you try compressing it, you will get some servo saver action in there. But that is it. So once we have this piece, I can go ahead and set this here, because this is going to be the right side. And now I'm going to look for these bearings, which are the small bearings. And the small bearings are just going to press on. So you have one here and one on the bottom. So you have 2 of them. You grab this other arm and you do the same thing. So 1 and 2. This one did not go in straight. And let's try it again. There. Do not force bearings, just try to seat them evenly again and they should go in. Alright, good. So now that we have this, we're going to grab these and these will go in here toward the bottom and right through the bearing. So these just go right in the bearing, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and install the other one. So they go through the bottom up. We have both of them. Now we're going to need the steering plate right here. And if you look at the picture, the orientation, this goes forward. Now, one of the things, this side is not as sharp as the other side. I'm not seeing anything in the directions about which side the sharp end goes, but I'm going to assume it goes toward the bottom. On here, I'm not seeing any notes, just general orientation. So this is going to go forward here, and I'm going to grab these two screws. I will be needing some thread lock. And that's something important. Thread lock, whenever you're running a metal screw through just a metal end, you will need to use thread lock. If not, it will want to back out, especially if it's something that moves. For example, your steering, things like that. Now, if you're thinking of wheels, well, wheels generally have Teflon, right? The Teflon nuts, so that's not really an issue. But this does not. And here we go. So at this point, let's see, is it an 8mm? Nope, 7. All right, it's a 7mm. So just tighten it, but do not over tighten. This should still move freely. And now we shall install the second one. And there is thread lock on this screw. I put too much thread lock on the first one, so then I just use this one to take some of that excess. Now the other thing too is use the thread lock that comes in the kit, and if for some reason, let's just say you run out of that one after a few disassembly for maintenance or whatever the case may be, just buy blue Loctite. Do not use the red. The red is too hard to release. Unless it's something you never want to take apart, you want to use blue. All right, here we go. So after this, we can go ahead and install these bearings. It doesn't have them here. Oh, it has them over here. Good. So that would be the next step. So again, they just seat in. Make sure you seat them in straight. If they start going in crooked, sometimes they'll get stuck and they won't want to press in. But that is that. At this point, we are now going to have to assemble our turnbuckles. So again, the line, if you saw the video with the other turnbuckles, keep the turnbuckles, these little marks. There's those little marks. There you go, you can see them right there. Keep those to the left side. Now, if you're wondering, well, why can't I put them on the right? That's fine. Put them on the right. Just be consistent. Make sure everything's on the same side. Most people usually install them on the left side. And then it just makes it easy. So if you install on the left side is going to be left thread. And here we go. Is this a smaller turnbuckle? I'm hoping. Yes, perfect. All right. Yeah, the turnbuckles for the arms, those things are massive. This is just a regular turnbuckle for Tekno, which Tekno turnbuckles are still pretty large in diameter. Which is something that I found interesting because the Tekno turnbuckles are very similar in diameter as the Proline ProTrack turnbuckles for the Slash, which is what I installed on one of my Slashes. But I don't understand why Proline decided to make the wrench part, the hex in the middle, much larger, so I cannot use my 4mm wrench. You have to use a larger wrench for that. Let's see. Interesting. All right. Here we go. So at this point, go ahead and grab a driver. I'll grab this one and I'll just spin. As you spin, just try to make sure that this thing goes in relatively straight. It's one very important thing to do here. So here we go. And all right, so let's see. All right, I'll keep going. One of the things too, if you've never done turnbuckles, they do get warm. They don't get hot, don't worry about burning yourself, but all the friction from threading makes them warm. And here we go, let me just see. And that looks good to me. It goes this way. All right, there is one. So now we have to do the other one. So we do have a right and a left. The difference is the direction those will go in. There we go. I'm just starting it by hand just to make sure that this is relatively straight. Now I'm just using the driver. And that should be about right. Just sort of estimating the length. I will measure later. And see, here goes the other turnbuckle. All right. And also be careful with your tools not to drop them like that. Sometimes it'll land right on all of that stuff, and then you'll have screws, nuts, washers just flying all about the place. Let's see. Just a little more. Let's see. Maybe I got this one wrong. I did. All right, well, not a big deal. There's the line. Oh, there's the line. And let's see here. All right, that looks more accurate. See, okay, it's on the opposite side. All right, good. Good. Perfect. So now at this point, this is where it's going to vary. So you're going to want to keep your right from your left. So on the right, this is going to go down and up on the far side. And it's easier to put the short end and push through the long end. So it goes this way. So the other one's going to go the other way. So the inner one will go up and then down to the bottom. Too far. There we go. Right, so I will keep this as the right. And the left, the inside, again, top to bottom. And now this one, far side, it's going to go bottom to top. Perfect. All right. And now we can go ahead and get 4 of these washers. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll grab this link. So the screw will go from the bottom through the top, and then we're going to use the 4 washers to go there. And then we're just going to use the stock setup, which is the rear. So we'll use the rear and then just go ahead and place the nut there for now. I'm not going to tighten it all the way yet. And then we use this other arm. And we will do the same thing. So we'll drive the screw. There we go. And it'll be a 2.5 millimeter driver for the screw, and then for the nut you will need a 5.5 nut driver. The important here on the steering is to make sure that you orient both arms in the same spot. So you either go all the way to the back, center, or forward for both arms. Again, do not over tighten, snug is good. And here we go. So now we have the steering. And after having the steering, we will now open up bag J to complete the front end here. The front bumper looks just like the SET. I'm sure they are the same. And let's see, that will be for our steering and our hardware to install the other items. At this point, I'm also going to go ahead and open up the chassis. Well, the bag, I'm opening up the bag. And this is very nice. Right, great. I will be needing the front now. So here in the front, I'm going to go ahead and place this over here. The steering is going to go back here. So the first thing to do is to grab this plate. So this plate, this is what's going to hold your steering down. And this right over here goes right in here. The interesting thing though, what goes there? I'm not sure why it's asking for it first. This goes here. I'm going to do these. Alright, so let's see. Our washers are over here, and we will need 4. I'll just count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have 4 here as well. Right, so it'll be 4 on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and grab, based on this, let's see, 29. Where is 29? 29. It's these. Right, we will need these long, thin ones. And these long, thin ones are going to go in through here. So we're going to go from the bottom to the top. I'm just pushing the screw through. And then this will seat on top. There we go. And then I'll, wait, the washers, oh, I forgot the washers. All right, so the 4 washers go in here, and then this thing will seat right on top. Then I can grab one of these nuts, and I'll go ahead and place it there. And let's see, holding them the wrong way. I'll go ahead and tighten this. And again, do not over tighten. Snug is all you need. Now, after a while of doing maintenance, if you remove these nylon nuts a few too many times, you will need to replace them because the nylon does wear out, and then it's not going to help grip the screw, and you may lose a screw during your bashing, racing, whatever it is that you are doing with your vehicle. Let's see. There it is. All right, I'll put the washers. And then this, and then the other nut. All right, here we go. Great, so at this point, I'm gonna choose which one I want to do first, and I think at this point, I will do this plate. All right. Don't like the way, well, I guess it'd be up here once everything's assembled. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm gonna need the 43s, which will be these 43. There we go. So you're gonna have these short ones with a rounded head. And when you're doing a build, you can do build start to finish. Do recommend taking breaks in between, as have I. Then you're not as tired. You pay more attention to what you're doing, and then you appreciate the progress. When you leave and you come back, you realize you're really accomplishing something as far as your build is concerned. So let's go ahead and grab this. We'll do the bumper. This is just going to go right in here, just like that. Mind the orientation, right? This is going to arc upward. And now we're going to need the, let's see, where are they? It should be these long ones. Let's see, 27s. So 27s are these long ones. For this, we will need a 2mm driver. Bumpers aren't really that big for Teknos, to be honest. They do absorb a lot of impact, but they're not that big or wide for that matter down here. So one of the things that can happen is you can hit that A block. Well, if you had a plastic one like on the SET, you will hit it and crack it. That's the reason why you should get the aluminum ones if you have the SET. If you do not have the SET, well, it probably comes with the aluminum ones, or at least this MT came with all 4 aluminum blocks, which is great. I mean, it doesn't seem like much, but every little thing adds up, and that's probably where the price difference is between the 2 vehicles. The SET is about $370. This is about $450. You are getting quite a lot for that $80 difference. Here we go. So we have this. And that's the other thing too. For $80, you're not going to upgrade an SET to an MT. So at that point, I would almost say don't bother, just buy the MT if what you want is the MT. Because if you buy the SET hoping to upgrade it down the line, it's going to be more expensive. You will have wasted quite a bit of money. Let's see, we need the 22. This one here and that one, it's usually a small one, this one. Let's see, where's the 22? I just want to confirm. 22, yep, that's the small one. We'll need thread lock. This one should be screwing onto the A block. So let's go ahead and do that. Now that this is in place, I'll just drop it in. Yeah, this is awesome. Maybe he'll trade this for my SET. Actually, I'm really liking this. All right, good. So now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and screw those 2. Those are usually long ones. Should be these 2. Let's see, 28. Those are it. Because these, they hold the bumper, but they also secure the gearbox. That's why you generally have the long ones. So this is going to go through the shock tower and into the gearbox. And again, snug, do not over tighten because you are going into plastic, it's threading into plastic. And even if you were not threading into plastic, you should never over tighten anything. If you're lucky, you'll probably break the head of the screw. If you're not lucky, well, if you're lucky, nothing will happen, it'll just stay there. But, you know, bad things happen. If you're lucky, you'll break the screw. If you're not, then you'll just destroy the threads, which is the worst thing that can happen. All right, so we have the front bumper. Front bumper is set. So far we have everything to here, actually to here. Now I can go ahead and grab the chassis. This is awesome. I'm forgetting these little pieces. These need to be installed. All right. So these here, if you look at the hex goes toward the bottom. So this will go just like that in here, and it will come out through the top. Once you do that, it'll go through here, and this is where you grab the screw, and you're going to be installing one of these rounded screws. Now you will need thread lock for these. So go ahead and, that's way too much. Don't overdo a thread lock, there's no need. I'm going to place that over there, just so I don't get thread lock all over the place. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this, and it should be a 5.5 millimeter nut driver for the bottom portion. Right now I'm just holding, and let's go, oh, never mind. Oh, Jay, what did I do? Oh, I need a wrench. All right, so it's not a complete hex, it's just a wrench. Here, well, these are flat. I don't want to mark this, so I'll just do that. I'm trying not to stick my head under the camera, but I can't see. There it is. And again, snug is good enough. Do not over tighten. That feels good. All right, now we need the other one. So we're going to go ahead and place this here. Slide that in. And once that is in there, I'll grab the other screw that already has thread lock. And here we go. Right. Very good. So here's the chassis. There is a front and a rear. The front is the thicker part. Well, the wider, I should say wider. It's all the same thickness. It almost looks thicker than the short course chassis. Maybe. It's just maybe. So here what I did is I just slid this underneath. And now the holes match up and those holes match up. So that is perfect. Now something that you will have to do is for the steering, I'll have to check what happened here. Oh, did I not tighten it? You will have to turn, let me show you. I'll remove it, it'll be easier. All right. These, you will have to turn them so that they match these. So just might as well have them go sideways. These pliers are horrible. Maybe if I use the driver. Yep, driver's the way to go. Alright, good. Now I have to fix this one. Alright, so there's something here that I have to deal with. I'm not quite sure what it is. This doesn't, something doesn't feel right here. Let me just check this real quick. It's not going through this bearing. So it needs to go all the way through the bearing. But it's just pushing the bearing out. I can't figure out why. Let's see. Go ahead and remove this. There's a little bit of a lip. All right, so I'm gonna have to clean this up. Well, no, that's fine. A little piece of aluminum. This is so soft aluminum that I can use my blade. There's just a little tiny lip that formed. All right, and that should work. All right, let's try it again. Well, first I'm going to seat this bearing properly. There. And let's see. Perfect. All right, so it's just supposed to make sure this thing goes through the bearings. And now that it has, go ahead and screw this on. So probably more than likely what happened is as I was throwing this in, I probably just let it slip out. That's what happened. Other than that, it is fine. And if you don't tighten these all the way, let's just say a little loose, don't worry about it. Once they lock into the chassis here, you can tighten them after. The most important thing is that these are this way. There we go, that should work. Let's slide this back in. and those two should just key right in. Good. Right in there. They're both keyed in. They're both set properly. Perfect. So now we're going to use these here, the countersunk ones. And it should be these short ones, but I will double check. For the steering, we have the 43s. 43, here we go, countersunk, yep, short ones. So it is very similar to the SET. Then again, there are some differences. This almost looks like an upgraded version of an SET. All right, let's see. Alright, go. Fabulous. Perfect. Alright. Luckily it fell right next to me. Well, maybe not immediately next to me, but not too far. Close enough to where I didn't have to get out of my chair. And here we go. So I'm gonna start with these, and I'm just gonna get them close. I don't want to tighten them fully because I want to make sure that all the screws are in. Now that those are in, I'm gonna use the 46s, and the 46s are these long ones. That is correct. They are the long ones. And those are gonna go here. It makes sense that they are the long ones. Are these turning into aluminum? I believe they are. So I'm gonna put some thread lock. Maybe they're not. No, I think they're not, but it doesn't matter. Let's go to the next one. All right, so again, close, but I'm not going all the way. And now we have that, perfect. This is the center brace. Now, for this, I'm actually gonna do the top hole first. So the top one, we're gonna be using this one here. This one's threading into plastic, which is why I'm not bothering with a thread lock. But I'm going to go ahead and place the top one. And again, I'm just getting it close. If you tighten this too much and then it flexes, you're going to have a hard time putting these screws in. That's the reason why. Let's see, we should have all the same sizes now, and we do. This goes into plastic, thread lock on those last two. This thing looks awesome now that it's taking shape. Now I'm curious as to what body is having me paint. Probably something from the 80s. I didn't really check. But an 80s body would be a cool body. It's probably not an F-150. If it was an F-150, that would be neat just because of Bigfoot. That's an iconic truck. Something that's also iconic from the 80s would be those vans, just passenger vans with images. There used to be a van with like a high roller van or something. It had some dice. I think it was Las Vegas painted on the side. I don't remember. There were a lot of vans with back in the day that were done that way. Alright. Last of the bottom. Now I'm going to tighten the top one. And the steering, just checking it, so the steering is free. This looks good, everything looks good. Alright. Let's see. And we have completed all of this. So now we can go on to the next one, but bag K, I'm gonna do this. You know, it's not that much. I almost feel like I might as well. No, I'll do bag K on the next one. So I'll catch you on the next one.